Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, your home for all content Lord of the Rings home. Today we're going to talk about Arwen in a series that I want to start doing called Worth the Whale. So I've been planning on doing this sort of episodic format on new characters that come out that you probably have to spend some money on to get up to a decent level, especially for unlocking legendaries. And the first one of that iteration is obviously going to be our first marquee character release, which is Arwen. The whole goal of this video is basically to give you a little bit of an overview of what I spent and where that character is at as a result of that spending, and then a few first impressions. I'll release a more detailed video on whether I think she's good or not a few days from now after I have more of a chance to play and test with her, but I'll give you some first impressions. I've done some arena testing and some PvE content with her, the challenges specifically, and I think that's worth getting out there and letting people know. So this is my Arwen here. I unlocked her at 3 stars from the event, and then I bought that $20 pack to get her to 4 stars because it gave you a flat 80 shards, right? Which I think is a good deal. I'm not sure it's worth buying the $20 one unless you're going to also maybe get her to 5 stars. And the reason I'm saying that right now is because we don't know when she's going to be free to play and how she's going to be free to play. So if it becomes really easy to farm her, then it might be worth just buying that $20 pack just to save yourself some time. But if it's not, and she's also really hard to farm, maybe you have to like farm her in one of the stores with a lot of that rare currency, like where Halbarad is, then it's probably worth holding off on buying the $20 pack for a while until you are going to go for Elrond completely, right? Again, this is all under the stipulation that the data mines are correct and that you need elves to unlock Elrond, although to be honest, it's probably a decent investment to work on your elves anyway, just because that's who's going to be around Elrond in his team, right? So if you're going to choose to do one character or the other, either Elrond or Eladin or Arwen, I'm kind of thinking you should maybe do Eladin. Again, we also don't have his complete kit. We just have what the NPC Eladin is in the ability challenges, and it's probably something similar to that, but Arwen really is a support character. She's good, but you have to put resources into her. So it took me 8 of those treasure chests to be able to get enough shards to take her from 4 to 5. So I spent $20 on the pack, and then I spent 8,000 gems, right? And how much is that? Let's take a quick look. Gems. Yeah, so I'm probably coming in right around $100. That's a lot of money and not something you should spend if, for just an okay character. And that's how I feel about Arwen, but it's a little bit more nuanced than that. And like I mentioned previously, if you can dump the resources into her, she actually gets to be pretty good. So this is sort of my first impressions. I have her at G7 and I have her at skill levels 5. 2 of them are at level 5 for specials. And then her basic and, if you can see the passive there, are at level 4. And I'll probably keep her there for a while, but I am going to try and get her to gear 8. I think she needs all of the resources that you can dump into her. 1, to stay alive, but 2, her skills are what's important. She is really a kit-based character. Her stats are not out of this world. And at level 4 across the board, I think is when she really starts to come into her own and become a very good support character. So basically, I replaced Ugluck on my arena team with her. So where Arwen was is where I had Ugluck, and I've actually climbed pretty significantly in the arena. I haven't quite figured out. You know, part of this was I was also saving a bunch of resources for her. And then afterwards, I have some extra ones left over. So I decided to put some stuff into my arena team again. But she's in my arena team now. And I think she's pretty useful, actually. I've been able to climb relatively easily with her. One thing I do sort of learned after my first arena battle with her, or first few arena battles with her, is that if you're playing against an arena team that has Ironhide, it's worth it to do her special 1 first rather than her special 2, because Ironhide's just going to clear off all of those regenerations anyway. And you might get stuck behind a taunt because she might go before the opposing team's tank. But the next turn afterwards, which comes up pretty quick because of her special 1, is going to give you that regeneration, and that'll stick better. So I think you only really do have to worry about that once you get her special 2 to skill level 4, or is it skill level 4 or 5? Skill level 5. So if you're at skill level 4, you probably don't have to worry about that. I think this probably starts on 1 on cooldown for her first turn, but just getting that turn meter train going is really helpful. Also, her cleansing the Banes on your team is fine. It's not that great. Where I see the most utility for her, again, just from first impressions, is being able to get through provokes and taunts pretty easily with her special, getting a bunch of attacks going because of her special 1 again, which is really the good part of her kit. And then also all of the nimbles that you get when your characters drop below 50%, right? It's basically like you get a free hit of damage. And that, I think, is pretty key. There's been some pretty clutch moments where a nimble pops up, I avoid a big hit, and then later down the road, it was very obvious that, oh, had I not avoided that, that character would be dead. So that, in combination with the fact that she has a little bit of healing, and when I pair her with Halbarad, who has his big heal, I have a lot of survivability in arena right now, and I will be ending arena matches with, 3 to 5 characters. And on punches across, which I wasn't doing previously. Most of the time I would end with 1 or 2 characters, and often it ended up being just a 1v1 between Ironhides, right? So I'm enjoying her in the arena so far. I also was able to get further in some of the ability challenges with her. I haven't been able to quite 3-star. Let's just go check it out real quick. I haven't been able to 3-star this tier here. I think that's because a lot of my other attackers and support are not the best. But I wasn't previously able to complete it at all. And now with her, I am able to get through that last stage. And she actually can clear off those, whatever the buff is that makes you unkillable, that Elrond pops off when you have him in the yellow. He puts 2 stacks of it on, or 3 stacks in this challenge, actually, I think. And she's able to clear a lot of that out, which is really great. And it also can get around Elodin's auto tank. Very nice. Not auto, just his tanking ability in general. So clearing those boons, I think, will actually be important for doing elf v elf meta as well, because a lot of their synergy relies on boons. So that'll be an important skill to have. I think she will be an important part of the team. I think you are going to want Arwen, Elodin, and Elrond as like a core 3 there, and then probably Elro here as well. And I know people don't like Lomian, but I think he's going to be that final slot because you just want the extra damage. Speaking of damage, so my Arwen is G7. My Strider is the same level. Also G7 has fewer gear pieces, but those are small stat increases until you get to a whole new gear level, right? Unless that target has a Bane on them where Strider does like a bunch of extra damage, she actually has very comparable damage just on like a single target DPS level with Strider. So I think once you, again, get her up to appropriate levels, I'm thinking, above G5, so G6, G7, and getting her skills up to level 4, she does kind of get turned on and becomes a much better character. Below that, she's pretty mid. I remember doing the tier 5 challenge. I just kind of got some of her skills and gear up, but I didn't have her all the way max. And, you know, she's pretty squishy and she does not hit that hard. I think you have to rely on putting all these resources in there. Anyway, let me know what you think. I'm going to continue to do this sort of series of videos. I think I want to do Halbarad and Bolg as well, and just kind of get those in the tank. And then every time they release another character like this, I'll probably, if I'm going to get the character, I'll probably do a first impressions worth the whale video. Basically, my conclusion is if you're going hard for Elrond, she's an important part of this, and I think you should spend the money. If you're not, if you're a dull light spender or free to play, I think you should probably focus your resources towards Eladin and maybe get her when she becomes more farmable. By the way, I'm going to harp on this all the time, but it is great that they release her at 3 stars for free right now because of how viable 3 stars are. But thanks for watching.